So in the morning, a lot of you, when you're kind of implementing, if you want to accelerate fat loss and get your hormones resynchronized, will be a morning breakfast higher in protein and fats. So I have this wonderful beverage. It's called the Lovin' Libido Mocha. As you can tell, we have a good time here. If we want to optimize brain function, we have to have a good time. Because who in here remembers what was on their grade 8 religion test? Who in here remembers some of the best New Year's parties they ever went to? Yeah, enough said. You probably could even describe some of the details, what you were wearing, who you were with. Because emotions and neurochemistry have to be connected to learning. So, sometimes cell phones will do that and brains will do that. You need to shut them off.
I'm sorry.
So this Love and Libido Mocha. So what's in the mocha is part of this is lots of healthy fats for the brain. So who in here is a mom? Now when your baby was born, it was probably this cute, chubby little thing and just absolutely adorable, right? Now, did that baby have any innate immunity, or did it have to rely on you for the immunity? Had to rely on the breast milk for immunity. Now, why is that? Babies, when they're born, can't walk, can't talk, don't have the precise motor function. Why is that? Because their brains aren't myelinated. Yet the nerves aren't myelinated. So the myelin is the sheath around the nerves that conducts the electrical signals. But unless you have the electrical signals, then the circuit can't fire. Now, what builds that myelin? What's really important to it? Of course, the breast milk is really important. Now, when you look at the baby when they start getting to 3 or 4, they start getting skinnier. Yeah. I don't know. I was one day. I don't quite remember my memories when I was 2 or 3. They get thinner. Yeah. Where did all the fat go? Oh, you guys are a smart group here. I asked this question like 4 years ago. No one had a clue. Yeah, they burnt it off, man. Lots of exercise. So it goes to the brain. So what happens is that subcutaneous fat breaks into ketone bodies, which then go help to myelinate the brain. Now, you can, to optimize your own brain function, naturally consume more healthy fats for the brain. So this basically breaks into a few categories. All right, number one is we want to build up the structure and architecture of the brain. Now, 50% of the brain cell membrane is this fatty acid DHA. Now, we hear DHA, we know DHA from fish oil. Now, fish oil across the research has been shown to have really powerful cognitive benefits. Why is that? Because it directly integrates into the cell membrane structure. Now, here's where you want to combine the DHA with the sunlight. Sunlight comes in, brings the energy frequencies. The light, which part of the body has the most DHA by percentage? Brain? Any other takers? The retina. Because DHA is actually like this converter, where it takes in the light frequency and converts it into electrical signal. Now, some of the neuroscientists I know, one of them created a field of optical genetics, where literally putting genes in the brain where light can actually turn on and convert to electric signal to turn on brain cells and regions. So this is what DHA does. It has these pi electrons, which then convert the sunlight into a charge in the brain. Now, that's really important. The more DHA you have in the cell membrane, the more charge you have. The more charge you have, the more capacity to do work. What's the first thing that happens when you get stressed and you're tired? Higher cognition goes. You eat. Bad plan. Were you paying attention there? I would recommend you make a new plan now. Higher cognition, memory, focus, decision-making, all declines when you're energy deprived. More energy you put in the system, the more capacity to do work. Therefore, the better the memory and higher cognition is going to work. The brain's the biggest energetic hog of all. So, DHA is is really important. Now I recommend that you get wild fish and ideally wild seafood as a primary strategy, and then supplement as the secondary strategy. And in fact, very high levels of fish oil are extremely important post-concussion, anti-Alzheimer's, and cognitive enhancement overall. So that's one main component. Now the other thing for the architecture of the brain cell membranes are these phospholipids. So this is where things like choline comes really important. And I know there's like lots of great things here in supplements. Some of the things I recommend is, because I'll have a client come in, they got memory issues, I'll map their brain. So we'll be able to see on a whole QEEG brain map how their brain's working. Then I'll give them, okay, we want to optimize everything as possible. Stack the deck in every way favor. Some specific brain supplements. And this will often include things like cytidine, you could do like PS, phosphatidylserine. Choline's really, really important. Roughly around 85% of the people are deficient in choline. That's what I see in brain function. Choline will help with thinking speed, it'll help with memory, it'll help with sharpness. So if any of you have brain fog? Yes. Brain fog. I got brain fog. It's like from like a science sci-fi movie. Brain fog, you know.
It's the egg yolk. Does it not contain choline?
Yeah, it does. Egg yolks are fantastic, especially with it runny, because it's got the phospholipids, it's got all the B vitamins, it's got a bit of DHA, it's got carotenoids, really, really good. Yeah. Now, I'm just saying as an add-on, that would be some things that I would recommend would be a choline source. Is really important. So the choline and the phospholipids.
Would you say then the egg raw is the ultimate way to do it, the best way?
The yolk, yeah. The yolk is, yeah. Not the whites, cook the whites. And a lot of people recommend eat the whites. I'll have other people eat the whites, I'll eat all the yolks. I'm cool with that. And people go, what about the cholesterol? I was like, don't you know what cholesterol is? Okay, here's a scenario. Your house is on fire. The firemen come up, and they're putting out the fire. Then the police sergeant comes and is like, man, who's causing this fire here? And they're analyzing the whole situation. Who here would blame the firemen for causing the fire? But they're there together, they're related. We see the elevated cholesterol when there's all this inflammation in the body. They're related though, they're connected. Cholesterol fundamentally is a building block for all your hormones and for the brain. The brain contains 25 to 30% of the entire cholesterol in your body. So what's one of the first things that happens when you start doing the statins and these cholesterol-reducing drugs? Brain, mental, cognitive impairments. So cholesterol is very important. Now the whole thing is how the whole chain is working. So you have cholesterol. Then it converts to pregnenolone. Then there's the arbiter. And guess what the arbiter is? Inflammation levels. Now when inflammation is high, pregnenolone goes to cortisol to make you more stressed. When inflammation is low, it goes to testosterone, progesterone, DHEA, vitamin D. So there's few ways you can hack your hormones. Number one is reducing stress. Now, just in terms of nutrition, what are some great ways to reduce stress? Boom, curcumin, ginger, high-dose fish oil, really anti-inflammatory. Cacao in the Loving Libido Mocha. Loving Libido Mocha recipe, cacao, organic coffee, coconut oil, MCT oil, throw in some maca, throw in some organic vanilla, blend it up, and suddenly you're having the best day ever. Put that together. Lots of superfoods are really cool there. And then the super kind of berries with like the blueberries and all those different things, really powerful anti-inflammatory. As well as a high-fat diet. Now, high-fat, the ketogenic diet, it's great. All this paleo stuff they're talking, you want to take it to the next level. You got to make sure the DHA is in there. Because the DHA in the seafood is what's really the magical molecules in the brain. See, naturally we evolved around coastal seawater areas. We didn't evolve in just the plains of Africa. We're naturally designed to be connected to water. And this is where the foods from the sea, the super vegetables, kelp, nori, dulse, you want to get that stuff into your system, bladderwrack. Iodine is like the queen. DHA is the king, iodine is the queen. Because iodine has all these nice, beautiful 7 outer valence electrons that she donates to charge. Now, sometimes we're overweight, sometimes we're stressed, sometimes our brain isn't focusing, and there can be a lot of little bottlenecks in there. Thyroid may not be working. The thyroid's the gas pedal that does all this conversion in the hormone panel that I was just talking about. Now, thyroid requires a few things. Number one is you have the iodine, so your sea vegetables, your oysters are really important. Then number two, iron levels. Now, a lot of people I know, vegetarians, vegans, they're low in iron. Now, what happens is when you're low in iron, bioavailable iron, now the thyroid isn't getting that conversion. Selenium is also important. So you'll find you have like high reverse T3. Now, everything in this thyroid is modulated by inflammation levels. When inflammation's high, it'll shut off the thyroid. So you want to go right after the inflammation. So those supplements, superfoods, super herbs, I love medicinal mushrooms, tonic herbs, adaptogens. They have all kinds of super modulating effects. See, rather than just going nitpicking for one little problem, let's change this little variable to change that variable, you want to go to the whole governing capacity of everything, because it will organize everything at this micro level. It's the same thing with the thinking component. From the brain, you have all these different neural pathways, things that are firing together. The consciousness is kind of what directs which parts of the brain get activated and how the brain forms. So this is where I typically will measure someone's brain, see what's going on, give them a plan, and then really optimize the consciousness mental component. Because that's the key to long-term sustained behavioral change. I can give you the best diet protocol and regimen, but unless you're actually programmed to be motivated to follow it, it's going to be all for naught. So that's really important. So for hormones, sufficient cholesterol, reducing the inflammation, getting the thyroid working, ways to reduce inflammation, sunlight, grounding, cold, meditation, yoga, qigong, super herbs, high fat DHA diet. As well, another thing I like to integrate in there, because we want to take the best of all worlds. This is our approach. Rather than saying, hey, yeah, I'm going to just be vegan today, and I'm going to follow that religion. Hey, I'm going to be paleo. And, anything that doesn't match that, I just say, get mad at you. Because we want to take all the best from all worlds. So some days we want to be more like a raw foodist, a vegan, where we're eating more raw foods and raw juices. Because we want to get the sunlight energy, we want to get the minerals and nutrients, we want to get the detoxifying effects. Some days we want to be more like a shark. Hey, I'm going to go do some oysters, some scallops, some wild fish. Some days we want to be more like a lion. And go out and get some like elk, bison, grass-fed meat.
Would you say in that regard consistency plays a role as well? Or not?
Oh yeah, consistency is good.
But if you're doing different things every day.
Well, you want to have the dynamic overall variation of everything together. Now, the more dynamic and variable you can be, the more variables you have, the more adaptable and free-ranging you'll be as a human being. Therefore, the more successful you'll be as an organism to thrive in your environment. So when you're limiting yourself to one way of eating, let's say just doing raw foods, that's all your body's getting. So you're missing out on kind of the dynamic range of minerals, nutrients in different forms, which could thereby imbue that adaptability in you. Right? So this is where kind of cut the dogma and just go to what works. We can prove anything. I could take like a drug company and I could have them show that their drug does anything. I could take a vegan and give them an exact plan, tell them the super herbs to take, and suddenly they could look like Adonis. Now that would prove, yes, that veganism, you can become an Adonis. Now, is it the most effective, harmonious way for the individual? Maybe, maybe not. This is where you need to test and find out. So rather than things being good or bad, they're very much context specific. And this is where you need to look at yourself and what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, so that way you know what to build in next. Forget about the dogma of what's a recommended nutrition plan. You need to look at where you're functioning well, where your weaknesses are, and that should tell you what to do. That's how we get smarter as individuals. Is we know what we do well, we know what we don't do well, so it tells us what to learn next.